So if you watched the last video, you'll know that the Fiesta failed its MOT this week. I'm not going to dwell on the fact that it didn't pass, but what I am going to do is fix the things that failed so that it does pass. Let's get to it. So as you can see, I've got the front of the car jacked up, and the reason for that is the first job I'm going to tackle is the fact that apparently the car smokes under acceleration. What the guy at the garage told me to do was to give it an oil change, give it a filter change, and then also add some of this stop smoke stuff to the oil once we changed it. And then hopefully those things all together should stop the car from smoking. It's hard to tell what it is. It could either be the piston rings or the stem seals for the valves, but I really don't fancy taking this engine apart. So this is going to be the first thing I try, and hopefully this will make the difference enough just to get it through the MOT. So as you can see, I've got my oil, got my oil filter, and I've got my stop smoke. I've also got a plastic tray to drain that old oil in. I've got the car jacked up, so let's get the old oil out. But before I do that, I'm just going to run the car for a couple of minutes just to warm up the oil so it drains out easier. Right, so I've got my drain pan under here, the bolt on the back of the sump, which is right here, if the camera will focus. The bolt on the sump is a 13mm, so I'm just using a 13mm spanner. I'm just going to crack this loose. It's on there pretty tight. Goodness me, might need a ratchet for that. Alright, switching it up, got a long 3/8 ratchet, 13mm 6-point socket, so we don't round it off. Let's try again. There we go, she's gone. Okay, I'm going to try and do this as cleanly as possible. Ready, go. So whilst that oil is just finishing draining, I just wanted to show you this quickly. The guy before me said that this hadn't had a service the whole time he had it, and he had it over a year. So I don't know when this was last done, but that does not look like a year's worth of rust to me. That looks like at least 2 or 3 years of rust to me. So there's a good chance that this has not had an oil change or an oil filter change, at least, for a good couple of years at the very least, I would estimate. It's a shame there's not like a date or anything on the filter. But let's go ahead and take this off. So this is the tool I usually use for taking off oil filters. It's pretty universal. It's a Blue Point branded tool, and it basically just like adjusts the side of the filter, so it's a universal thing. And you can put a ratchet, a 3/8 ratchet in there, or a spanner, and that allows you to take it off a lot easier. It's really good at gripping hold of the filter. Just sitting here waiting for this oil to drain. Look how many bugs there is on the front of my car. This is from like a day of driving it. They are everywhere. All been splattered and killed by the Fiesta. I think I'm satisfied with the slow drip of that, so I'm going to go ahead and put the new oil filter on, new sump plug, and then we can fill up with oil. New oil filter on, sump plug is in, so we're all done under here. So it says in the Haynes manual that the 1.6 engine takes about 4.25 litres, so 4 1/4. And I've got a 5 litre jug, so that's plenty. So I'll put in 4 in a little bit, and then we'll see what we are on the dipstick. Just in case anyone's interested, I've gone for Shell Helix HX7 5W30. It says it's good for Ford engines, so I'll give this a go. Right, so the engine's now full of oil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the engine up, get the engine oil warm, because this stuff says that the engine oil needs to be hot or warm before you add it. So I'm going to let it run for a couple of minutes and then add this stuff and then let it run for another few minutes, and then I'll check the level on the dipstick, and then hopefully we should be good. Okay, so the engine's been running for about 5 minutes. It's probably warm enough for this stuff now. So it says that this whole tin will do between 3 to 6 litres of oil, so I'm just going to add the whole lot. Cheers. It's like treacle, I don't know if you can see it. It's really thick, like honey. This does not feel right doing this. Feels like I'm doing some sort of crazy experiment. All I can assume this does is just makes the oil thicker, so that it is harder to pass through the valve stem seals or the piston rings, I assume. Just gonna put the whole damn thing in. Okay, that's the whole tin of Wynn's stop smoke in the engine. I'm just gonna run it again for another few minutes, let it sort of all mix together and bind together. And to be honest, there's not a lot I can do other than that. I can't test it or anything. That's gonna have to wait for the MOT. This is kind of the easiest, cheapest, quickest way of trying to get round the emissions test and getting the car to perform well enough to pass. Other than sort of taking the engine apart and rebuilding it or putting a new engine in, there's not really a lot else you can do, because it is a fairly high mileage engine. It's on 135,000. These cars are usually ripped around constantly by young people, and you know, they're fun little cars, so I can't blame anyone. I do it as well. It is a high mileage engine really for a petrol engine in a car like this, so that's all I can do on the emissions front. So while I've got it up in the air, I figured it would be a good idea to take the passenger wheel off and have a look at the brake lines on the front, because they also came up on the MOT as a failure. Apparently they were rusty, so I'm going to see if maybe I can clean them up, give them a little sand or a wire brush and maybe a coat of paint, and that'll be enough. I just kind of want to determine whether I have to replace them or whether they'll just clean up and be alright. So with the wheel off, I am assuming, because it's really the only bit that's visible and it looks like it's sort of been played with a bit, that the piece of brake pipe that they're talking about, this piece here on that corner, you can see it looks worse than what it is. It's really just surface rust, and then a little bit up the top there as well, again surface rust. I reckon that if I scrape some of that gunk off and give that a little bit of sandpaper, I don't think that's a replacement job. It doesn't look or feel bad enough to be a replacement job. It feels and looks worse than what it is, I think. So I'm going to attempt that. I'm going to try and clean this up and see if I can get that MOT worthy as it is. So this is what we have after a little bit of a wire brush and a small bit of sandpaper. That's the bottom of the pipe now, and then that's the pipe on the way up. And just like that, we have a brand new brake pipe. Not quite brand new, but it looks way better. I know this is not the proper way to do things. Really, I should probably replace it, seeing as it did come up on the MOT. With a clean up and a paint, I think that'll get through the MOT alright, only time will tell. I'm going to do the same to the back one. So this, I believe, is the pipe in the rear that they're talking about. Again, just a little bit of surface rust on the corner there. So I'm going to try and clean that up as well with a little bit of sandpaper and see if I can get that looking good, and give it a little coat of paint as well. I know they'll be able to tell that it's been painted, but maybe that'll be enough to persuade them. I think it looks fine. I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. I don't think you can even see me right now because it's so bright, but I just want to quickly check the dipstick just to make sure the oil level's all right, and then I think we'll call it a day. I think that looks pretty good. It's about spot on the full mark. You can't really see it because obviously the oil's really clear, but take my word for it, that is good, just like that. So there we go, that is about all I'm going to be able to do to get this through the MOT myself. Fate of the welding lays in the guy at the garage's hands. I'm going to take the car to him tomorrow, which is Friday morning. I'm going to leave it with him all day, and then when he gets to space, I think he's going to put it on the lift, have a look at the damage, and then he's going to cost me, and we'll go from there pretty much. If it's cost worthy and it's cheap enough, I'm going to get it done, and then we can retest it. But if it's extortionate, I might have to reconsider. But we'll see where we go from there. I've done all I can do. I'm hoping that the oil change with the additive is going to make a difference when it comes to the emissions. That oil has not been changed in forever. If you saw the state of that oil filter, that has not been done in a long time. So I'm hoping that that is just the issue. I think the oil was just a bit thin, very old. It was getting through some sort of seal and burning away. So hopefully with the additive and the fresh oil, that'll be enough to get through the MOT. The brake pipes, I haven't replaced them. Both the jobs I've kind of done today were, you could say, a little bit bodge. Really, those brake pipes probably could have done with being replaced. However, they're not bad enough in my eyes to be replaced. I think they only came up on the MOT because you could see the rust on the surface. But now that I've cleaned them up and painted them, hopefully they'll get through the MOT all right. If not, they'll have to be replaced as well. So there we go. I think I'm going to leave this one there. In the next video, we'll be taking the car to the garage, getting the welding done hopefully, and then getting it retested. So make sure you look forward to that. Thank you, by the way, for all the support on the Fiesta videos. I didn't know it was going to be as popular as it is, but yesterday's video, which was Wednesday's video, got like 8,000 views in under 24 hours, which for my channel is a pretty good feat. I've only got 18,000 subscribers, so the view count on that video is pretty good. So I appreciate all you guys watching the videos. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Wish me luck for tomorrow when I take this car to the garage. I'll see you in the next one.